Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my 8 Series video. Next to me, I have the legend and good friend.
Hello mate.
How's it
Finally,
going?
we're in a video together.
Finally, I know it's taken a while.
Yeah.
This is Stef AB TV. If you're not familiar with him, please go and check out. I'll put his Instagram and his YouTube channel below. He's one of those YouTubers that actually gives a shit, so his videos are very good as a result. He's also got an alternative review of both the cars, which is worth watching. It's going to be nothing like this one, so it's going to be a complete alternative 8 Series review that we both did.
Much more lifestyle, and if you want to see Joe's neck almost being snapped off of the launch control, head over and watch that video. Yeah, that was completely unexpected.
Well, for me it was. Yeah, I think you knew that you were going to release. Not for me. Not for you. Not for you. So we're out in beautiful sunny Spain. It's quite mild out there, but it's just lovely. And I actually came to this very road, in fact, and road tested the original G35 series, and absolutely love this place. Brilliant roads. Let's focus on the cars. So at launch in the UK, at least, there are 2 models available in the 8 Series lineup, and they are the 840D, which we were in yesterday. Yeah. And that is roughly, I think, 72 grand on the road. Yeah, about 72 grand. 72 grand, and the one we had was about 82 or something. It had all of the options on it. A bit of roadworks.
Oh, he's letting us through.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And that was a mighty impressive car. And in fact, do we stay on this side of the road? Yeah, Steph and I were really blown away by that car yesterday. It was an incredible GT car, very fast, made a great sound, especially for a diesel, and it just did everything very well. I thought it was the ultimate sort of mile crunching machine. We didn't know where it was going to leave room for this particular car, because this is actually 30 grand more, retails at just under 100 grand on the road, and this particular one's about 110, isn't it?
Yeah, 109,000, this specific model that we're in now. Yeah. Yeah, mainly driven by the carbon roof, which is...
Yes, that's nearly 3 grand, I think.
3 grand alone.
The main headline is that these cars, they come... Obviously they're country specific, but the UK have decided to spec them very well out of the box. So there are some packages like the visibility pack, which adds laser lights, things like the carbon roof, the technology pack. There are things you can add to it, but there's not too many things, which for me is always a good thing, because I just think sometimes you can spend way too much on options, and especially on a flagship model like the 8 Series, it should come loaded. So it does. In terms of the interior, I mean, I personally don't have too much of an issue with BMW interiors. I think they're purposeful, but I must admit that yes, they all do look very similar, and sometimes they just don't feel special enough. Especially for, I know you're a big Mercedes fan, and yeah, from an outsider's point of view, I suppose you'd probably agree with that.
Yeah, no, I would. I really like the interior of this car. I mean, even the one we drove yesterday, the diesel version, I prefer it in the red leather. I think the red with the piano black outside just works well. Yep. But I mean, the thing that really got me is the comfort of these seats in particular. Yeah, yeah. They're incredible.
They really are. I think they're very similar, if not the same seats that come in the M5, and I raved on about those, and they're comfortable but supportive, and they feel like you could spend days in them without any issues whatsoever. They're really, really encloseting, and in fact the actual cabin itself, it's very driver centric. It's very cozy in here, and we discussed yesterday briefly in Steph's video that in fact I would go as far as saying a 2 Series, or my incoming M2, has actually got more room for 4 adults than this car has. Which, when you look at its dimensions and wheelbase, doesn't make any sense. But so don't look at one of these. I think where it does fall a bit short is rear cabin space or rear seat space. I'll put in a quick clip of me trying to get in the back of these seats right now. It's not fit for adults back here, that's for sure. As you've seen, it was a bit of a struggle, and it's not even that I'm a big adult. You couldn't get like a 5'9" adult in there. You just it's kids only or extra luggage space. So that to me was a little bit disappointing, because it is such a big car, and I was hoping that it would be a potential for adult sort of GT car. But in front, it's spot on. Yeah. It is such a nice place to be. Really, really lovely.
And they've really gone to town on the luxury in this car as well, haven't they? They
have.
I mean, you know, the leather dash is great.
Yep.
I mean, you won't be able to see this right now, but the Alcantara all over
the headlining.
Yeah, the headlining, the roof lining, the side pillars. It's just really, really nice. And,
yep.
I mean, you don't like the gear knob personally, do you?
No, I thought it was a bit crass, and to me, all that shouts is BMW going, oh, we need to make our interiors a bit more fancy like Mercedes, so we'll give them a special, whoops, that was a gesture control.
Easy.
That still clearly doesn't work. But yeah, I just think they've gone, but you, as a Mercedes man, the first thing you jumped in, the first thing you said when you jumped in the car yesterday was, oh, I like that.
Yeah, like a magpie finding a bit of foil or something. I was really drawn to it. But I don't know, it's just a personal thing for me. I think it just looks nice, but
yeah,
you know,
it's growing on me, mate, I have to admit. Like, I'd
be keen to see what your viewers think. Comment below.
Comment below.
What you think of the gear stick.
What you think of the knob.
Me or the...
oh, actually, yeah, they might be confused with that. Yeah, well, this knob, not that one.
Yeah.
They don't call it the iDrive 7, they call it the... What did they call it yesterday?
Operating System 7.
Which I just think is ridiculous. I'm going to refer to it as the iDrive 7 because... Let's face it, it is the next generation of iDrive 6, and it's brilliant. It's very intuitive. Again, with all these new iDrives, I mean, I jump in a car and want to just feel how it drives and maximise these press trips, which although you have a good amount of time in the car, you are constantly, you seem like you've never got any time, have you? Because you're faffing around.
No, it is
full on. He's crashing drones for once, it wasn't me, and but yeah, the iDrive 6 is fantastic. I should get past this car already, shouldn't I? Because it's kind of like probably ruining my videos. Like,
you good?
iDrive 7 is brilliant, and it just allows you can sort of customize the home screen there, or the main screen, to whatever you want, a bit like you can on your home screen on your phone or your tablets. The dashboard is all digital, completely digital now, and there's lots of different functions that you can have in each binnacle, but they're surrounded by traditional-ish looking dials, so you've always got them there. Head-up display is really good. It changes depending on which mode you're in. That's a gesture control again.
It still is, isn't it?
It's just, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of gesture control. I think it is one of the biggest gimmicks that BMW have ever made, and I'm not afraid to say that, because it is. I'm sure there are people out there that use it, but to me it's just never.
You're using it just accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I am. I do gesture a lot though with my when I'm talking. So that's the interior. Big step up, massive step up. Really nice luxury. Lots of safety features in here. Lots of driver assist aids, etc. I'm sure if you watch someone like Tim's channel, he would go into a lot more depth of how all this works and what is completely new. I want to focus more on the driving dynamics, talk a bit more about what's under the bonnet of this car. So we've got a 4.4 litre V8 twin turbo. It's a similar unit. It's not an S engine, but it's a similar unit to what you find in the current M5, and it puts out 530. Yeah,
700 newton meters.
Yeah,
that's a lot of power.
It's a lot of power and a lot of torque.
Yeah.
And it's an impressive bit of kit. I think we'll spin around here and go back down that road. It's a really impressive engine. It's got lots of torque down low. It doesn't like to rev out much above about 5.5. I think the red line's at 6. But it's a very punchy engine, and it has to be a punchy engine because this car weighs about, give or take a few kilos, 2 tons, which to me is a lot of mass. it disguises it extremely well. But they launched this car alongside the, what was the race car called? The
M8 GT.
M8 GT, yeah, and they were, you know, they were strong to point that out a few times in our briefing yesterday. But I don't know, I just find it ironic that they launched this car alongside that, but yet this is 2 tons. This car's heavier than my long wheelbase 7 Series. It's heavier than an M5. So there's a lot of weight there, and I'm guessing and hoping that when the eventual M8 comes, that's what they're going to do. They're going to strip some weight out of that car. There is, you know, with all the tech that's in here, it's no wonder that it does weigh so much. It comes standard with 20-inch wheels. You know, the brake discs are the size of dinner plates, and there's a lot of stuff going on in this car. But the good thing about it is that everything seems like it's low down, so the center of gravity is low. We sit really low, which is always a good thing for me, and I go on about that. And it just means that the car is a lot more agile than it should be. You feel the mass, but wow, it's 4-wheel steer, isn't it? In this?
Yeah, 4-wheel steer. And even around these undulating roads, you know, it's I wouldn't say it's unfazed, because, you know, you're right, there's a lot of weight to this. Yeah. But it's the steering is very pointy, it's very direct. I mean, we were saying yesterday that, you know, you don't need, you turn the wheel maybe 45 to 90 degrees and you're nearly going around a hairpin.
Yeah, you know, literally.
It's ridiculous.
You never need more than this. You never need more than, yeah, exactly 45 degrees in the steering wheel. Wow, this bit of road is just insane, isn't it?
This is great.
So yeah, we've got the 4-wheel steer. We've got massive brakes in this car that really slow it down, like it's, you know, like it weighs sort of half as much. And it's got all the sort of active roll bars, so it just stays pretty much flat through all the corners, which again disguises its mass and just does an incredible job of pointing around. It's got the sort of familiar ZF 8-speed gearbox, but the shifts are so much quicker on this thing. They've recalibrated a lot of that gearbox and the way it changes gear, and the shifts are quicker. It's got more character, and in fact this particular car's got things like, if I put it into drive, which I never really do, I always have manual on this sort of roads, if you put it into drive and you come into corners like this, it knows from the nav to change down. So it seems to always, and in fact we tried it early on, and I was like anticipating gear changes, like thinking, right, I'll change down now, and it changed down.
It was pretty spot on.
It was pretty spot on.
Pretty spot on. That's impressive technology.
It is, because, you know, you're a driver like me, and you're always like straight into manual when you're pushing on, because you just know the auto's never going to get it right. But yeah, early on it literally was reading my mind, which is impressive. And
it also holds the gears as well. If it knows that there's corners coming up,
it will keep it in third through the section instead of keep changing up, which is amazing. Let's go and get past this car. So yeah, let's push on a little bit now, and as we catch someone else. Oh, it's just beautiful around here. Oh, he's taking the wide racing line through here.
He's on the Colin McRae route.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah,
go for it. You got this. I mean, that low end crunch, I can feel myself just being sucked into that seat.
Yep.
It's just ridiculous performance for what it is, for the weight of the car.
It's amazing, isn't it? It is. And I think, as you say, as a passenger, you really feel...
Yeah. Mate, look, I mean, look at this. The roads are glorious.
And it sounds great. Yeah. Yes, there might be a tiny bit of fakery, I don't know, but to me it sounds pretty organic. And from the outside, you stood out, did some flyby shots earlier on.
Yeah, oh, it sounds great.
Yeah.
It's great. You know, I think the 4.4 V8 will have something to do with that, but yes, it's incredible.
But even the diesel, guys, sounded really good. I know one of the questions, we're just about to get onto a few questions that people have asked me on social media, and I remember one of them being, what was the calibration of that twin turbo 3-litre 6-pot diesel like? Because it does feel different in the 3 Series, and then in the 4 Series, and in my 7 it feels very different, because they calibrate it differently, you know, to suit each car. And they've calibrated it so well in this in the I almost called it 6 Series, in the 8 Series. It feels really good. It's really racy, it revs out. It seems to want to rev out more than my 7 Series, for instance, which would make sense. So it almost feels petrol-like. It revs. We were taking it over $5,000 yesterday, no problem. And you think this thing only redlines at 6, so there's not a massive difference in bandwidth for the revs.
The thing is, it still had punch as well at the higher RPM for a diesel.
Yeah, usually runs out about 3.5, 4, and they're done, aren't they? Normally diesels, but
it was still pulling and got near enough all the way up to 5.
Yeah. Practicality, we've touched on that slightly. It's a very, very comfortable 2-seater.
Yeah.
You can squeeze small adults or kids in the back if you need to. Humongous boot.
Yeah.
Cheaper than the equivalent 7 Series. Someone actually was very quick to point out that spec for spec, these are actually cheaper than the 7 Series, which I think if you look at sort of history, like for the S-Class Coupe, which I think is the closest car to this really in reality, I believe the S-Class Coupe spec for spec is more expensive than the S-Class limo.
Is there room for the M8?
I definitely think there is.
I think there is.
I think we both jumped in this morning and we're like, whoa, that gap, where can you... in terms of actually outright pace, this thing is ridiculous. Like 0 to 60, 3.7?
3.7 on paper.
On paper, which we know is probably 3.5 seconds in reality, because they're always conservative with figures. So I think, but it's not about the speed. To me, it's more about the agility. I think the M8 would just feel lighter. It will feel lighter on its feet, and hopefully it will be a bit lighter. So there is room for the M8. It will probably have a louder exhaust on it. It will just be more aggressive, won't it? Won't be as comfortable, I can't imagine.
I don't think it will. But then arguably, when you're in comfort mode, if it's running the adaptive suspension, it might do. Yeah, it might do.
Yeah,
I think the way BMW go, because they're still, with the thing with the M8, like what they're saying across the whole of the 8 Series range. Yeah, obviously they've gone hard down the luxury route with this car. Yep. And the M8, even though it'll be driven mainly around the performance element, they won't want to lose out on the luxury element. So I think they'll still have some element of luxury in that and comfort factor. Yes,
I think you're 100% right. I think if you're still a massive purist and you want your ultimate driver's car, you're going to still get your M3s, your M4s, your M2s.
Yeah.
The M8's never going to be a small car. It's always going to carry a lot of mass. So even the M8's going to be a more extreme version of this. Yeah. And that's it really. Everything's going to be ramped up. So yeah, there's definitely room for the M8, and I look forward to driving that with Stef.
Yeah, that'd be good fun.
Thanks, Lauren. That'd be great. Can't wait.
M-badge count and quality.
M-badge count and quality.
I'm guessing that's your abbreviation of the question.
Yes, yeah. I think someone actually did ask how many M badges on this. So maybe we'll do, once we get back to the hotel, we've got a bit more time this afternoon, I might do a quick walk around for you and have a count up of how many M badges on these.
Should we do a guess? Should we go for a guess?
Okay, let's do
a guess. Are we doing the whole of the car? Yeah?
The whole of the car, so the things like there. I mean, I could already see about 4 in here, so
I'm gonna go 21.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go 16. Okay. And I'm hoping that I'm right, because 21 would just be. I mean, maybe that's where a lot of the mass is in the M badges.
Yeah. So that's lightweight stripping right there.
Exactly. Get rid of the M badges.
What's the size like compared to the old 6 Series Coupe?
Good question. I have to say, I think it's very, very similar in terms of cabin size. I haven't spent, I must say, I've spent a lot of time in the 6 Grand Coupe, but I haven't spent that much time in the 2-door Coupe. But I think there's really not much in it in terms of cabin space. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Next one we got, does it feel more like a sports car or a GT?
Definitely, to me, definitely more of a GT car. Yeah.
I think it has sports car traits, definitely, when you put it into Sport Plus.
Yep.
You go into full manual mode. But I think you just can't hide away from the fact that it's near 2 tons.
Yeah.
So it just has to fall under the GT category.
It does. And this is a halfway M car. This is an M850i. So in my abbreviation, it's an M Light, which is ironic because it's definitely not light. But with all M lights, the M140s, the 240s, every iteration I've driven, the X3 M40i, they're great up to about 8/10, and then you start to feel not their weaknesses, but that's when they're like, well, I'm not really built for going flat out because I'm not a proper M car, and that's fair enough. It's not claiming to be a full-on M car, this one.
Real world economy.
I don't know what they quote. I think it's around 30 mpg on the combined, which is amazing for a car of this performance. But in real world, you probably get 25 out of it. On the highway earlier on, I was in 8th gear, and it was doing about 1300 RPM at 70 odd miles an hour. So it's got a lovely long cruising gear. So real world. But if you're looking at MPG, or you're looking at something that's going to be cheaper to run, the diesel's definitely the way forward. It's always going to be sort of 30-40% more efficient. I think there's one more on there that I could see that we might have missed out, and it's a very good, valid point, this one. This is actually something I wanted to talk about. Compare this to the current M5. Now, to me, if I had 100 grand burning a hole in my pocket, which obviously Stef and I have both got, we got like just notes falling out everywhere. If I had 100 grand in my pocket to spend on a BMW product, I would personally go and buy the M5, because to me it's more focused, it's far more practical, and it's just as comfortable. But this, you don't get the interior beauty of this car. You miss out on some of the tech, and also it's just maybe not as quite a special place and car to sort of walk over to. And I mean, this is a stunning, from some angles, this car. Not the biggest fan of the arse, but I love the nose, I love the side profile, and the more time you spend with them, the more angles and amazing bits you see. So yeah, personally, the M5 is a more focused and a faster car. I would get down these roads quicker in an M5, but it's not quite as comfortable to cruise around in, and it's not quite as special as an ownership proposition, because I think someone who goes out and buys an 8 Series or an S-Class Coupe, that sort of thing, it's a beautiful object, it's a beautiful car, it's a beautiful interior, it's it's a lovely thing to wake up to and jump into and do long journeys in. So I don't think they'll tread on each other's toes so much, but if it was my 100 grand, I would go out and buy an M5 or an M5 competition, personally. Right, we're going to wrap this up in a second. Just a couple more things that I forgot to mention, that both models come standard with xDrive, so they're all xDrive. This one, when you've got everything turned off and you provoke it, it does feel more rear biased, but again, not like the M5. The M5, a hint of your right foot on the throttle in first gear out of a roundabout. If you're in the sports xDrive mode, I think it just rotates nicely. This one's not quite set up like that, from what I can feel. I think that's about it. I think that's about it. I've probably bored people to death.
I think you do proper reviews, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
You give people what they want. I mean, I've learned a few new things, to be honest, whereas I just walk around and have a laugh and snap your neck on a launch control.
Yes. So, talking launch controls, I think we'll have to do one. It's never going to be as good as the one that Stef's got on his channel, so you got to go and watch that. But we'll just do a quick launch here, because it is vicious. 3.7 seconds. Let's see if we can get it right this time. Okay, there we go, over there. In fact, I'll give you a little bit of exhaust sound. So, and ready, here we go. Whoa!
Oh my word. It's not. Oh my word, mate. And I was prepared for that, and it still snapped my neck into the seat.
Me as a driver.
It's so aggressive.
That first initial launch is just. I don't think you'd ever. I don't know, that's that first gear off the line, that initial. If you ever pull up alongside an M850i at traffic lights and you think you can take them, just don't bother. Just roll off the lights, because you embarrass yourself, unless you're in something ridiculous with ludicrous mode. But then that takes 10 minutes to charge up, so that wouldn't work. I always like having a dig at Teslas, always. Love you really, Relini. Anyway, guys, listen. Thanks a lot for watching, and please make sure you go and subscribe to Stef's channel and watch our alternative video over there. Give him a follow on Insta as well if you don't already. Massive thanks and shout out to BMW UK for inviting me out to this wonderful launch and this wonderful place and these amazing cars. And big shout out to Lauren as well. Go give Lauren a follow on Instagram. And then comment below if you did. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot, Steph. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you in the car, mate. And yeah, we'll do lots more together in the near future. So hopefully you enjoyed our threesome. Car, me and you. Anyway, I'll end it on that. Bye. So fast. It is, isn't it? Yeah. I thought I'd throw this at the end. Let's just do a little count of M badges on this particular car. So we've got 1 on each wheel, so that's 4. We've got 1 on each caliper, so that's 8. We've got 1 on each wing, so that's 10. We've got the 1 on the back, obviously, the M850, so that's 11. We have got 1 on each door sill, so that's 12, 13. We've got 1 on the steering wheel, 14. We've got 1 down there, 15. Steph, you might need to help me out here.
You've got 1 when you start it up.
Yep.
In there.
It's just, we don't have the key with us, but yeah, there's 1 on the dash. So that's 16. Oh,
and
can't forget this.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. 17.
17.
And let me just, what did I guess?
You said 16.
16, and you guessed 20.
I said 21, so you
okay,
won.
so it was in the middle, but yeah, I was a bit close to it.
It's still a lot of
17 M badges. I reckon if you got rid of all of those, it would weigh about 1.5 tons. 120 and a 120. And then when that all goes green, that basically means that I can let go of the steering wheel and it will keep me in the lane. It will keep the safe distance between me and the car in front, and if I want to change lanes I can indicate and it'll actually come out of the lane, but then you have to re-engage the steering wheel. But we're coming into a left-hander here, but it does it so smoothly, really smoothly. So yeah, really impressive bit of kit. Now it's saying put your hands back on the wheel or you will crash. Hey guys, don't forget to take advantage of my 10% off on mega mounts. I go on about these a lot on my channel, but I absolutely love them. There's various different mounts, my favorite being the vent mount, which I'll show you now. Vent mount uses a mega mount sticker on the back of the phone, nice and thin, and then the phone literally just goes on there, doesn't move. You can plug it in, and away you go.